everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. Wonderful episode today. This is Breeda Wool. And if you don't know who Breeda is, I'm going to read you her bio right now. Originally from Urbana, Illinois, Breeda moved to New York City to pursue acting after college, where she did everything from sketch comedy to guerrilla theater to acting in indie films. This all led to roles in more mainstream work like Vice Principals, The Affair, Glow, and The Walking Dead, as well as regular roles on shows like Mr. Mercedes and Unreal. Breeda is also one of the stars of the new Disney Plus. You like the staccato enunciation there? Unreal. Breeda is also one of the stars of the new Disney Plus show National Treasure: Edge of History, which debuts next Wednesday. I was really excited to talk to Breeda. I originally saw her on Mr. Mercedes, which was very, very good. I don't know if I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, so I don't know what I was really expecting going in. But hey, and maybe that's the way you should go into all shows and movies and art, not expecting anything so that it can just grip you. But I thought it was wonderful. I mean, honestly, it didn't even have to have a kind of interesting story like it did. It was just wall-to-wall wonderful actors, and you threw them all together and you let them go, and it was great. Breeda was wonderful. She's great in Unreal, another show that, again, I guess I didn't. It's about like a Bachelorette type show, and I was like, all right, this looks interesting, and it was great. Breeda was wonderful. So I was very excited to talk to her. And guess what? Wonderful actor, wonderful person. Wide-ranging discussion of growing up in Urbana and getting in lots of fights and lots of other stuff. It starts off already kind of, we're off to the races at the beginning when we get into Pizzagate. I won't spoil what I mean by that, but yeah, this is a really good talk. And folks, if you like what you hear and you want to check out other episodes of the show, I've been doing this for 13 years. I've done hundreds of episodes. I think all of them are on Spotify. That might be the only place you can actually get all of them. But what I like to do here in the beginning, not that I'm endorsing Spotify, when it comes to music, they are terrible and rip people off. Podcasts, I guess I'm okay with them as a podcast medium. But if you want to check out other episodes, what I like to do here is a little recommended if you like my talk with Breeda. What about my talk with other actors such as Darcy Carden, Josh Radnor, Adam Pally, DeWanda Wise, Lola Kirk, who Breeda starred in a film with, Aisha Tyler, and tons more musicians, actors, writers, performers, artists. So if you like what you hear and you want to subscribe to the show, you can do that wherever you get your podcasts from. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Andy Beckerman. Twitter mostly for still trying to just do dumb jokes. Still just as the mood sours and it's almost just like people's souls just screaming into the void. I'm still desperately trying to just put jokes out there. Losing the battle, but trying valiantly. I was about to say it's a Pyrrhic victory, but it's actually probably more of a Pyrrhic defeat. So it's awful in all cases. Instagram, hey, that's just pictures of Naomi and the animals mostly, so that's probably a little safer for your emotions. Anyway, I have a lot of great episodes coming up, including comics creators Cliff Chang, who co-created Paper Girls, Jim Zub, Skull Kickers, a lot of other cool stuff for both of them. The band Alma, that was a wonderful talk. Oh, this was great. I just talked to Terry Winters, who wrote on The Sopranos, was the creator of Boardwalk Empire and the new show Tulsa. That was maybe one of my favorite talks ever. So look forward to those. But for now, let's talk to Breeda. I think we maybe ran in the same circles. I read on, so I know 5 facts about you from your Wikipedia article. But
I by the way, nobody I know wrote that, and I don't know how that got there. So some of those facts are And then I like Googled myself one day, and there was a lot of really creepy, dodgy information about me. So then I went on my Wikipedia page and tried to plant false information. It was only like two things. It wasn't very like Jason Bourne of me, but it was like, it's like, I was like, I can't control the information online, but I could disseminate the truthiness of it by putting in some false like seeds.
No,
But I
I
didn't
like
do it
that.
enough because I couldn't figure out how to work Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's so disinformation. It's what the government does, right?
And weirdly,
What if
the
what if like 2
clickbait.
seconds in you're like, what is this guy? A QAnon guy?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Would it? Would it? No.
I don't think I've ever talked to a QAnon person ever in my life.
Yeah, I guess I never have either. I've talked to
If you want to do this podcast as a QAnon guy, that would be amazing.
I don't know, 12 years, almost 13 years in.
I was
and
planning on
decided-
talking about group masturbation, so I'm pretty sure that tracks.
I decided to just do it as a character. I don't know, maybe that'll shake things up.
561. Now I'm in the, what's that guy's name on Spot that almost broke Spotify? Joe Rogan.
Oh, Joe Rogan. Oh, God.
560 podcasts in, and you're Joe Rogan.
But I think we ran in the same circles, maybe. Okay, so if this is true, by the way, hold on. All those weird articles, like I looked up one, I remember, I don't know why I had to like search Naomi. My wife's name is Naomi. I don't know why I had to search her, but I like looked it up for some reason, and I found those weird, creepy articles, and like some of them have like creepy things about our relationship.
Cool.
That are like very false.
Cool. You're like, not cool. Not cool. I like love it. I'm like, I don't know who this is or what they're doing, but like they're like saying weird shit about my partner. My partner wore like in an Instagram post, we went to like, this is what a feminist looks like. And he has a t-shirt and he wears it. And for some reason, in like several different weird articles that I'm pretty sure were written by like a Chinese, like someone who's not non-primary language is English, was like talking about how he was a feminist, and I was like, this is such a cool thing it's cool. Like, I mean, he is a feminist, but I like that was what like flared. That's what flared in the fake reality, which is interwebs.
Yeah. I'm really curious as to why those articles exist, because they are very strangely written. You're right. I thought they were written by like a bot, or definitely like someone that's been hired in another country to write something, and English is their second language at best. And it's always like very like it's written like it is a alien writing about you. And they have like limited information, and they're just kind of trying to piece together biographical information. Try to piece together
cool.
like a full picture of you from like small pieces of biographical information. They're very strange and disconcerting in a way that not a lot of stuff I run into is. Mabel, are you okay back there? Sorry, my dog just had a drink of water and is freaking out. Disconcerting in a way that not a lot of stuff in life is disconcerting. Like it feels like an alien is being a voyeur in your life. Does that make sense at all?
I can't tell if you're saying this is a negative thing or a positive thing, because everything you're saying sounds fucking awesome. Like an alien voyeur in like some distant land, like probing your life. All of that sounds fabulous. You're saying it as if it's negative, and I'm like, I love it. I love it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All
You don't
right.
like it? It's like, but I mean, none of it is, you know what? Also, none of it is negative. None of the stuff in the world that is spread is like the misinformation that's spread about me is negative. If it was negative, that I can't even imagine how that would feel, you know?
Yes, you're right. But it's distorted in a way that I have trouble with. Like, it always inflates how much you're actually worth. Like, if you read the internet, my wife and I are millionaires, which this is the modest 2-bedroom apartment we rent. It's very obvious we're not. And there's just other things that just like feels weird to have someone dig into your life in a way that is just wrong, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I mean, the only weird thing about it is like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure in terms of this world of like the NSA and privacy and like metadata and harvesting metadata and hacking and like international hacking and we've been hacked by China and Russia so many times. It's absolutely insane. And like everyone's like, oh, he's going to have the codes. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure like a hacker in China already hacked the codes like 10 times. They probably have to change them like 25 times a day. But like the football has been stolen. But I'm a little bit like, I've always wondered what the alarmist nature of that is exactly. Although the identity theft thing is real weird. That really like, it's like you have the giant conglomerate of the US government giving you a social security number, and then you just have like a bunch of people who steal identities, and the social security people like don't. It's like one of the biggest problems and like points of thief. Isn't like South Korea's largest like GDP from hacking like Bitcoin or something right now? Like I'm like, there's a side of me that's just like relent, allow.
Ha. Well, there's a thing. I mean, I don't know if this bothers you. Whenever I get a kind of just like the slightest scent of the decay beneath society, it really freaks me out. Like, I remember when I learned about number stations. Do you know what number stations are?
No.
So during World War II, there would just be these AM stations that sent out. Okay, do you know the Wilco album Yankee Hotel Foxtrot?
No.
They have an album from 2000 called Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, and there's a song, the 10th song, I forget what it's called. Maybe Reservations. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is that at the end of it, if you want to hear this, they took a snippet from this radio station, and the person in an English accent just goes, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. And basically, almost every government has said that they don't know where these are coming from. But basically, people think that they are radio stations that send out codes to spies in other countries, and the spies use something called a one-time pad, which means that the code only works for this one thing. So that way they can just say the stuff in coded language over the airwaves, and the only way you can decode it is with this one-time pad. When I learned about that, it really freaked me out because those number stations are still in use in some places. So there are clandestine things going on like right under our noses in like a real way, not like a QAnon way. No, what if this was me slowly slipping
I
into
feel
that?
like you put some you like said something and then enacted it immediately. You were like, well, wouldn't that be weird if I was like a QAnon guy? And then just immediately went into that. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, the layers on layers on layers of like, it is, I was part of the Pizzagate scandal.
What?
I was part of, the Pizzagate scandal?
Yeah. What do you mean you were part of it?
Like I did this really fucking weird movie. Oh, I probably can't curse on this. I saw on the thing it said clean.
Nope. You can curse. I just don't.
I can clean curse.
You can curse. No one has ever stopped me. I didn't want to put dirty because I'm just like, I don't know. If someone says fuck or something like that, it doesn't seem that dirty
I was
to me.
planning on this podcast getting really fucking dirty. I basically can't help it. I'm going to talk about some QAnon shit and then it's group masturbation. When I looked at the thing that was like, what are your biggest influences? I was like, what does this mean? This has got to be like, what is the first time? When's the first time you got fingered? No.
Ooh, if you knew about me, I would never even get close to talking about anything. I'm very repressed, but
you're very repressed.
Oh yeah.
I feel like your cat popped up in the screen with a pleasure face the second you said that.
He was just like, yeah, no, he is. He's totally repressed.
Yeah, he was like, I second that. What are we talking about? I feel like
you said you were in you somehow were involved in Pizzagate.
Oh, in
through a
Pizzagate.
movie.
Yeah. So I did this movie with this filmmaker, this producer, David Gerson, and Matthew Lesnar, who's a filmmaker who had a bunch of stuff and he's just a brilliant filmmaker. He and I made a pilot together that went to South by. Like, I've been collaborating with him for a long time. And we made this real fucking weird movie called Automatic at Sea. And David Gerson's mom and dad are like, or his dad passed away, but they're like, live in DC, and like, you know, they got some friends. And so this movie comes out, premieres at Slam Dance. It's like the weirdest fucking movie. Like, David Lesnar basically does like dream movies, I mean, brilliant, like bizarre dream movies. And I'm like basically a spirit in this. It is the weirdest, like creepiest, very creepy, slightly horror, slightly funny, weird tone.
Sounds great.
And like, yeah, it was an amazing movie. Anyway, I get a flood of like, I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but I've been on it forever, and like half my friends are dead on there, so I have to keep them. I'm like, can never close my thing because it's like it's holding the memories of like the deceased for me.
Yep.
But anyway, I'm like, like going into the messaging of Facebook and like having like reading conversations with people who are no longer on planet Earth is like a privilege that I like can't ever let go. I'm like, even though it like failed our election, it like caused our elections to fail, and we've been like overrun by like Russian bots, I'm still need to have like a, look back at like those few texts from my dad or whatever. But so I get a flood of Facebook things from people I don't know saying, you seem like you're a nice person. We know that you're like a real like actor, and we believe in you, and we really need you to like find the children, and we really need you to save the children. And they were basically like reaching out to me to try to like save the children. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what? And I would literally, I'd be like, what is happening? I can't remember if I responded, but I basically, I can't remember if it was somebody on there or if I looked it up myself. One of the producers owned Comet Pizza. So David Gerson, like, literally made this indie film with a skeleton crew. There's 10 people involved in this, making of this film. And they're all there. They're all living in David Gerson's mom's basement on Martha's Vineyard, making this movie. I like stayed at my friend's house. It is indie to the max. But he got one of the guys at Comet Pizza to give money to our film. And I became wrapped up in this. And Matthew Lesnar, the director, was bombarded. And they think that this crazy, kooky, weird movie that we made is a code for like a, clan for a child sex ring that was being led by Hillary Clinton in DC in the basement of this pizza parlor. It was very intense. And so, Matthew Lesnar wrote an article about it. But I mean, he and I made this like podcast about the multiverse and stuff. And it definitely feels like when you start down these roads, like when you start making weird shit, like weird shit comes to you. Like, good Lord.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, getting a glimpse into like what's really going on, like what people are doing on like the Silk Road, buying like, fentanyl by the brick and handguns and all this other kind of shit. And I'm just like, oh, that stuff's out there. Like, I walked, over to Hillhurst to go to Luppiette Kitchen to eat some butternut squash soup, and that's my day. And other people.
So I did that like 4 days ago.
What was that?
I walked to that restaurant and got some butternut squash soup.
For real?
Yeah.
It's great. I love that place.
I wasn't sure about that place, but I now love that place because of that butternut squash soup.
It's great. And we're doing that, and other people are like smuggling humans in shipping containers and stuff like that. And that's where my brain like breaks when I like realize that there is that stuff going on in the world, and I'm just like skipping down the street, listening
Yeah,
to.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about that, like you can just talk about how capitalism destroys,
Sure.
that like, I mean, if we're gonna get into like philosophical, like bass drum beat of capitalism and where it goes, like you can cause global drought for $1.
Hmm.
Like that is the reductionist, you can destroy your entire house, burn down everything around you for $1. Like that is the neoconservatism. He who has the biggest stick wins, like politics that we've been going on for a while.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna burn the world around me and never expect any impoverished person to arrive on my lawn. I'm gonna burn the world around me and never expect it to affect me because of all the privileges of wealth.
Yeah.
That's like even just something basic like the water. We were supposed to cut back on water, and then like all these like people in Beverly Hills were like, or not, come for me.
Yeah. And then nothing happened to them. Like maybe they got fined, like maybe the Kardashians got fined like $50 or something.
The come for me politics of like so sue me, and then the like bargaining of like corporate lawyers determining whether a court case versus the payoff will be more or less, and then having a whole task force that go out and just like quagmire people in legal fees is a very interesting. It's the legal foundation for every single climate issue that we've taken to court, and like you know a bunch of other stuff I could talk about.
Have you always been politically conscious? Is this like more of a as you become a parent, or have you like when you were a teenager? Were you kind of aware of these issues?
I thought that my art was going to cause a political revolution. I thought that I was going to be like, entrenched in like to the death making art for politics. When I was a kid, I started a neighborhood picket line for kids' rights because I really felt like if you could pass the driver's test when you were 10, you should be able to drive. Like if it's all about just being able to pass a test, then just qualify at any age. And then drinking, I was like very annoyed that you couldn't drink. I was like, if you can, needs to be measures of like qualifying responsibility. No, I think something about the flint of revolution definitely, and where it intersects with art definitely is something that excited me from a very, very young age. I was definitely like,
Was it contrarianism?
like, do I have oppositional defiance disorder? Yes, probably. It's a serious DSM statistical manual. No, I don't know. I mean, I staged a walkout at my school when they tried to alphabetize the lunchroom because there were so many fights at lunch. There were so many fist fights at lunch that they were going to alphabetize people's seating and have arranged seating. And I like staged a walkout, or a sit-in. No, I staged a walkout and then a sit-in. So we walked into the hallways and then sat down.
Oh, good old walk and sit.
A walk and sit, which ended up being violent. It ended up being violent.
Hold on, sorry. Let me just like peel a couple layers off of this. So this is Urbana, right?
This is Champaign-Urbana, yeah.
Okay. So why are there so many fist fights going on in your high school?
That's a really good question. There was a lot of fights. I got into a lot of fights.
You got because this is a college town, right?
This is a college town, yeah. I don't know why there's a lot of fights. There's a lot of kids. There's a lot of kids and a lot of fights. I don't know. There was like it was a kind of a violent place. I mean, I'm not sure. I went to when I was like, how old was I? 8. I went and lived in Paris for a year, and I went to my parents were college professors, and so they did a sabbatical, and I went to I think 3rd or 4th grade in Paris, and it was so violent. It was
What?
like, oh my God. It was like I walked in on my first day of school, like not French speaking, an American, and this American kid. There was only one other American kid. He came up to me and was like, "You're the other American kid. Get her!" And it was like from day one of my school there, it was like all out brawls. And there was like two maybe high school kids watching the playground. And it was just like the most violent place on earth. I remember like doing a pinwheel on the ground, like kicking people in the face. Like it was so violent. I got a black eye in Paris that I still have like nerve damage on my eye from.
What?
Yeah, it was a wild experience. And then when I came back to Champaign-Urbana after that, I don't know. I was kind of like, I'm not sure why it was so violent. There was a lot of like I hung out with like a bunch of skater kids. There was just fights. It was like a lot of people's parents were professors, and there was nothing to do besides like sex and drugs and fights. Like there wasn't a lot, like, like Manhattan kids like can kind of get into some stuff, but there's so much to do. It's so enriching. I mean, it was a pretty enriching place, but it was like there was just one high school, one middle school. Actually, there was a smart kid high school. We didn't go there. I mean, we were smart kids, but there was a university experiment and you had to test into it, and they took a small amount of kids. And so like really brilliant, like test above, way above average, like kids would go to that university. But besides that, everyone went to the same school. And I don't know why it was so violent. It was violent, it was creative, it was I mean, when I say violent, like nobody was getting shot at, it wasn't like that. It was just a lot of energy being thrown around.
It seems like your suburban experience was a lot different from mine. Like all that energy, like I don't know, like our energy went to just like goofing around and making jokes and light vandalism, but there weren't a lot of fights for me. I don't know, maybe I'm trying to figure this out because okay, so Urbana, I looked up some information, it's like 30,000 some odd people, so maybe there's some small town.
It might be 30,000 people, but then there's like, I don't even know, like 200,000 college students or something.
Oh, well, maybe you got all that college student energy also, like,
I mean, you got some college student, yeah, you definitely got some. It's just fueled by like adolescent rage. Everyone runs on out. I mean, this is also my generation. My sisters and my generation in Illinois. I mean, it was man, I wish I had like I need like some corroborators. I'm pretty sure it was pretty violent. I mean, I ended up moving when I was 13 to Delaware, and I went back. I had a huge group of friends, and I like moved back to Delaware, and I ended up getting into this wild fight. Like, I think there was just a lot of like, and there was like a warrant out for my arrest, and I had to like go in unmarked cars to.
Sorry, hold on. All right, sorry. What? Wait, you went. So why did you go to Delaware in the first place?
Because my father was a chemical engineer, polymer physicist, and so he was in the material science department in University of Illinois, and then went to University of Delaware. So I showed up in University of Delaware, like, I mean, that was quite a move. I showed up like, first of all, I was like 6 feet tall when I was like 12. Showed up there when I was like 13 years old. I was like a fucking weirdo, just like an absolute weirdo. And I showed up at this like weird little private school where everyone like wore the exact same outfit and like khakis and like button-up shirts. And I was like, showed up like a maniac, like a fighting, feral, protesting maniac.
So when did sorry.
And everyone there was like, who the hell is this? I remember my friend that I made there was like a senior. I thought I was a senior who was really stupid, and that's why I was in 8th grade. Like I looked like I was a 35-year-old woman. I've seen pictures of myself, and I look like I'm a teacher at the school. They had a dress code, so I used to get suits and wear suits to school.
Okay. Then how did you get? Why is there a warrant out on you at the?
Oh, because I beat up this girl. Oh my God, this story is so long. This is like the most epic. This is like my biggest fall from grace. Is like, I mean, it was just like kid stuff. There was a boy Involved. There was sex involved. There was I later found out that there was like, basically, Euphoria. You know that show Euphoria? When I watch that show, I'm like, I can't enjoy this show. This is too, I mean, not that show is like a barrel of laughs or whatever, but like it hits a chord with me that is very much my adolescence. Like when I see a Larry Clark movie, like it feels like the energy that was permeating my adolescence. Okay.
You're a Euphoria teen,
which is weird because it sort of denotes like an unhappiness, but there was also a tremendous amount of happiness. It was sort of like I roll in extremes, or I did for a long time. Maybe I still do.
Because I'm trying to connect the dots. Like I'm like, some of this is starting to make sense in terms of like, because you're such a good actor. I'm like, okay, well, you have to be like emotionally open. I don't know. I've met plenty of sociopaths out here. You don't seem like a sociopath, at least, but like you have to be emotionally open, I think, to be a good actor. And so you definitely like felt your emotions when you were younger. Question mark. So maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I run hot. I run hot.
You weren't repressing hot, things like I do.
I run hot, but like I really love and value my friends and family. I have like I don't know if I have an anxiety disorder like diagnosed, but I also have like a hyper consciousness of like a situation in terms of the dynamics and how people are feeling and what's like, to a point when the pressure's on that is very uncomfortable for me. Isn't that like the definition of anxiety disorder? So in that regard, I feel responsible for the climate in the room.
Very familiar. Yes, I understand this.
Which is so fun when you're making film and television, because everybody is on the same page with the climate in the room. Like when you walk onto a set, plus like, I mean, it was my childhood game. Like my bliss state when I was a kid was like having a group of friends playing the same game, imaginary. And everybody's on board and everybody is just like playing it to the max. And I feel like that's sort of the extension of, like driving to set is one of the most joyous, like that drive to work is one of the most joyous experiences when I'm on time. I have like when I'm not trying to like plow into the cars ahead and in front of me, it's like, the anticipation that I'm going to go play make-believe in a room with like a bunch of people where one person's job is to just push a dolly, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know, it's really, and people are like bored to death at their jobs sometimes, especially in TV. Like, so it's not magic every time, but sometimes it's absolute magic. And everybody, even the grip and the sound, and everybody is just like excited and watching and on board, and we're all playing the same game and everybody's into it. You know what I mean? That's like such a fucking cool place to live.
So has that been something that you were searching for, or was it always there in your youth? And so it is something that aligns. Like, I know you said that you liked it when your friends play the same game, but like outside of that, was it always something like, oh, I want to be part of this hive mind, or maybe that's not the best word, but
No, that's right. I mean, it's interesting as well because movie sets and TV sets can be very dysfunctional.
yes.
Holy hell. Like it can be a dysfunctional family. And when it is, there's like pain in that. There is like pain in the dysfunction of it. Like, and so when it doesn't work, it's also really like intense as
Oh,
well.
oh yeah. The first project my wife and I sold ended with I had chest pains and she's crying in the executive's office saying like we can't do this because they were so awful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what's also kind of exciting about it is because it's a bit ephemeral unless you're on a show. The longest I've been on a show is 3 years. But even when you're on a show like that, you only shoot for 3 months of the year, 4 months of the year,
Right.
and then it's over. And then you go do something else and you get involved with an entirely new. I haven't been in something like, a series regular on what's that?
Oh, Law and Order.
SVU Law and Order, right? Where you're doing like 22 episodes for like 13, 20, like 13, 15, 17 years. You know what I mean? Like I that's like if you have dysfunction in that, then that's like a whole life choice. That's a whole life choice.
Ooh.
But on our, it's an ephemeral thing. It changes, it moves. And then there's always one or two great things, even if you're in a situation where, the production's trying to kill you or whatever. I mean, the stories that I have are absolutely insane. Like they're waking up in hotels covered in cockroaches. I've been like injured. So I've been injured so many times. I remember at some point my partner was like, babe, you have got to like, people are like, you've got to stop doing these things. You come back and like a nervous wreck, like some shit I've like, oh man, so many things, so many crazy things.
So then wait, so outside of like playing a game when you were younger, did you like what was it about a hive mind that like you enjoyed? You enjoyed the playing the game. Was it that like you got to like dissolve into it? Was there something like you were like the flow state? Like what was it?
Honestly, I think that I did a lot of art when I was a kid, and I think that's the only sort of accomplished flow state that I ever had that was isolated, and all my other flow states are collaborative. And oh my God, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's a part of us that, I mean, that's why people go to church. It's why people create families. It's why it's a giant driving force. It's why people spend hours on social media. It's a huge driving force to almost everything that human beings do. It's like a urge, like sex or food or hunger or anything. It's an urge to feel like you're a participant in something that's interconnected. I think we're built for it. It's part of our brain system. And so I have a strong urge for that. I guess some people call it extroversion, where you get energy from like groups and things like that. Like when people talk about extrovert, introvert, like there's a bunch of dialogue around that. I don't know if any of that is accurate. There's so much like psychobabble bullshit that people talk about these days. There's like also when we were talking about the I actually have an undergraduate degree in psychology, and I worked at a psychiatric center for a minute in Staten Island.
Oh no.
Yeah, but one of my largest takeaways from that was like, this is a bunch of bullshit. Which is probably why I can't find a therapist now. But if I'm taking recommendations, anybody listening to this podcast is a good therapist. DM me on Instagram. Oh my God, that'd be amazing if that's how I find my next therapist. But I think that I get like power, energy, joy, love, all of those sensations from, which is why I love making projects with my friends. Oh my God. I made this movie with this amazing filmmaker Kestrin Pantera Grubb, or not Grubb, but Kestrin Pantera. And she called me up and was like, "You want to make a feature film tomorrow? Like, come over." And we ended up making this improvised feature film called Mother's Little Helpers and I ended up coming on as a producer just because I wanted to continue the dynamic. I wanted to continue the process of making something. And it was great. We went to South by. It was like, and I was actually at South by for the premiere of Unreal, which is this TV show I did. This very cool TV show I did. But yeah, it was a very excellent TV show. But my father died while I was there.
Oh,
and
no.
I had to worst moment of my life, like had to get on a plane. I'm just like I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the guy sitting next to me on that plane. It was really funny. It was a really weird dynamic. It's a very weird dynamic. But he wasn't dead. He was brain dead, but his body wasn't dead. So I showed up and he lived for like another week. And I never returned to South by until we had this movie that was about the death of a parent. And everyone involved in the film had this like experience with the death of a parent. And we all made this improvised movie, and then my whole family came to the premiere, and everybody who was in the movies, families came, and we all sat in this room and talked about making a movie about the death of a parent. And that was like my return to South by. And I was like, nothing is better than this. This is my job. This is my vocation in life, is to capture the serendipity of my experiences and then mingle them with somebody else's and then show everybody and have them bear witness to what we did. It's like fucking bliss.
So then how does this desire to dissolve into the hive mind play off against your oppositional whatever you call
defiance disorder?
Yeah, your contrarianness, I'll say.
I think it's just I think I have a very intense knowledge that it's all made up. There is no, like, we're just making it all up as we go along. So when somebody like a authority figure comes and tells you that you must do something because those are the rules, and you already know that everybody's making it up, it's a little bit hard to to take that. You know what I mean? Unless you have unless you're on board with a mission. I mean, also, like, there's so many, you have to do this, you must do that is absolutely insane. So I guess that's where they intersect.
I think, okay, maybe it's more of like a consent thing, right? The hive mind is everyone's consenting to dissolve into one, whereas an authority figure is imposing something upon you, and that's when you react, is having something imposed on you.
I think so. It's interesting because I do respect the chain of command. I played sports and things, and on a movie set, leadership is important. A lack of leadership on a movie set or a TV set or a TV show is pandemonium and is not good too. So that, like, the structure of leadership is important.
But what if, like, has a director ever given you a note that you disagreed with?
No.
Okay.
I feel like the game is to take the note.
Interesting.
That's the game. Like,
yeah, no, I agree. But I'm just curious, like, if there was ever like someone who's like trying to impose and you're just like, I don't think the character would say that or do that, or I don't want to do the thing you're telling me to do this.
Oh,
faster.
I mean, I've definitely like questioned a director before. I've been like, I feel, but if they're like, look, I just want you to try this, like, I'll be like, okay,
sure.
Like, I feel like a huge part of my job is to translate like the name of the game is like create the story together.
Mhm.
So the like um that's part of the like the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
The rules of the game is like we're making this the agreement is that we're making this together.
Do you think your
I
family was like hive mindy? Like, do you feel like you guys were of one when you were younger?
like, am I entrenched in codependencies with my sisters and my mom? Absolutely. I'm like canceled Christmas because I like have no boundaries with my sisters whatsoever. And now I have a kid and they behave like kooky bananas. And I'm like, stop, we can't behave like we're 10 forever. Like, this is nuts. Like, yeah, I mean, my family, we were sailors. And so we would sail like all around the world when um and my dad was like a guitar playing sing song Irish physicist, material scientist,
Like
uh
Irish, actually from Ireland?
from Cork, yeah, from
Okay.
Cork. My mom was a foreign exchange student in Ireland and met my dad there. um Brought him back to the States. And then my mom is a art history professor and ancient history and history art together. And they were super in love with each other and very passionate about each other and passionate people and wild people and drinking people, huge drinkers. um which is why I'm a sober person
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
now.
I get that.
Yeah, I can't touch this stuff. um but yeah, I mean, it was a wild, wild upbringing. It was full of energy, full of life.
Uh-huh. So okay, so maybe
So when
that's
you're on a boat, like being on a boat with a group of like passionate people, boats, you can't go anywhere. You're stuck on the boat. So do you need a hive mind? Yeah, like I also got really into dance when I was really young. And so dancing with a group of people is like maybe I feel like when you are in a flow state with a crew or a TV show on a movie set is bliss, but then also like a good dance floor is bliss. Like a good vibey dance floor. I like take dance lessons still to this day, and I was a street performer for years in New York, and it was like a dance piece with 6 other women that we would do like a guerrilla theater experience on the streets, where we were all wolves and we would like hunt people through the streets.
like where? Where in New York?
No, that we were all New York based, but it was all over the world. We would do it.
You would travel the world doing a public theater piece where you were wolves.
Yeah. Public theater piece presumes that everyone's signed on. Street theater is when your spectators don't know that
Uh-huh.
haven't agreed to a performance.
Right. Improv everywhere,
Yeah,
but Brechtian.
exactly.
Okay. So I'm starting to like get a picture of when you say wild though, like what did you exactly mean by your parents were wild?
Hmm. My dad had a lot of balls. Do you want me to elaborate on that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Um, okay. Well, he grew up in the 50s in Ireland, and my mom grew up from two people who experienced World War II and the Depression, Great Depression. And I think the two of them felt like they came from a place of rigidity.
Mm.
Ireland was a real bummer of a place then. Like, I mean, when you read the poetry and see actually, when you see a lot of movies that are about that time, it's fucking sucks as well. Like, it's really bleak, like just bleak, repressive, kind of like beautiful, beautiful culture and place, but like, good God, like that's like, you drive your car into the sea as well or whatever. You drink yourself to death as well. But not that my father drank himself to death, but it's a big part of the culture is excessive drinking. And it's not a stereotype. Like it is very real there. On Christmas Day, you're drunk before 9 a.m. But
Interesting.
And I think my parents, they met in Ireland and they decided that they wanted to live a life that wasn't how they grew up. And so they made a very conscious decision to have kids, have a family. They were very ambitious too. My father was very ambitious with his career. And my mom was very ambitious raising us, and then went back when I was like 8 or 9 to get her master's degrees and, then became a professor herself. But I feel like talking about this has given me an Irish accent. I feel like
there was a little bit.
I know. I feel like while I'm talking about my dad, like suddenly I'm like, yeah. So what's a story, Jack and Rory? But I think they wanted to live life on fucking fire. They wanted to which meant they loved very passionately, and their relationships were really amazing, and I didn't grow up with a whole lot of rules. There weren't a whole lot of no's. There was expectations that I would succeed and do well in school because they're both professors and teachers. But there weren't any rules. I didn't have a lot of chores. My sisters were like these ridiculous, like we were like naked. Like we would go to a nude beach every summer. So we're like naked, like the whole house is like covered in animals. Like I had over 50 rats. It was like, there would always be like people living with us. Like, it is like, my dad especially really folded people in. I mean, my mom actually really folded, the two of them together, like very like folded people in. When my dad died, it was interesting as well, because when my dad died, he had tons of students, graduate students that like do, it's like PhD students. So it's, they're more like coworkers than students exactly, right. But they are students. But, a lot of them were like, I wanted to raise my family like that. Like I wanted to raise my family but there's also a downside kind of like I'm sitting in a pile of clothes right now. Like I'm sitting in a giant pile of clothes. I don't know how to do. Like I will love the shit out of you, but I will not do the dishes.
Look, my wife grew up with rules and turned out like you. So, there's no linear line from any of this stuff.
I do wish I had some more discipline though. I think like as a grown up, discipline is my greatest challenge. It's my greatest obstacle.
But obviously, okay, sorry. I started to say, obviously you have discipline when it comes to work, but then I'm like, well, maybe you're just intuitively you read a character and you're like, oh, I know this. And then you kind of just fall into that mode, but I don't know.
I guess, I can't tell that's sort of right. I mean, on one sense, I can go, oh, I have a pretty good career. But is that like a state of being? Is that like a state of mind? Like, I don't think that I'm ever there's no pinnacle. There's no apex to this shit. Like yeah. I'm a creative gig worker. Like the second I reach the apex, I'm going to fall off the other side of it and fucking have to start again. But when you're a creative, it's, I suppose your life and career is cumulative. So I'm like an amalgamation of all of these this weird shit that I did. And I definitely like doing weird shit. So that's why I'm on a show on Disney.
But look, did you have an ambition when you were younger to do this And what was this? Because you can have different ambitions. Like there are people who want to just be famous, right? And then
performing is my childhood game. Like performing is my childhood game.
Uh-huh.
But I could have been a scientist. I don't know.
Right, but that's the thing. But did you want, like, was there a thing where you're like, well, I want to be an actor, and so I'm going to like mold my life, or was it you eventually found it, or was it that again, like there's two different things you can have an ambition for, which is like I want to work and I want to make things that I think are important or that I think are fun or whatever, or I want fame and money, and it's not that they're two separate ambitions, right? You can have both of them at the same time, but like, is there some, because you just said like, there's a pinnacle, and there is a pinnacle if like,
I mean, I don't know how that pinnacle is defined.
Yeah, I don't either. I was just trying to think of that. Like there are people I know who are,
and by the way, I had a baby. So all of my points of view on these things that you're talking about are shifting, or they always remain the same, which is like, wait, why the fuck am I doing this? What is this? Why does this matter? Like, what is this energy? Why am I spending it here?
Yeah.
So when, this baby stuff, the life of, I mean, I get things that come across my, you know what? Like I'm at this weird point right now, like especially with political stuff, and where I don't want to hear from actors anymore. And so I have no desire to say anything about anything or promote. I mean, I want to like support other people. Like I like the women in Iran that are like, whew, like oh my God, what can I support you by like reposting? Yes, I can. So there you go. Like there's an effect, that, but like, I think that we got into a trap of entertainers becoming political points of view, and entertainers, I mean, with Reagan and all sorts of stuff, like joining political ranks. And, Donald Trump is a entertainer, and it's I just I'm not sure if that's where I don't want to be heard like that. What I do want to do is make shit that makes people uncomfortable. I want to make things that twist and, but I also like have a baby now. So I need to make some money. And there's like a global pandemic where I didn't work for a year or a year and a half or something. So like I had a baby in a pandemic and my entire industry shut down. It's just a weird feeling. It's the instability of, being a creative gig worker. When you're talking about career, there's still a hustle, and like, it's not clear that the hustle will, I'm like, having a baby kind of moved me into a place where I'm like, maybe the meaning of life is to just, kiss your baby and be happy. And like,
yeah,
hug your mom and I don't even know, like call your friend.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's very like,
yeah. In the pandemic, I kind of shifted a little bit where like my ambition had been, like, well, I'm going to, I don't care what show I work on. Just staff me on something. And then through the pandemic, I'm just like, I don't know. Do I want to be screamed at 2 a.m. about like the 10th iteration of a joke? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, that's not worth it to me. And it really did shift how I felt. And I'm just like, what do I enjoy? Sitting on the couch with Naomi and the pets. And I'm like, all right, so let's try to like aim to maximize that amount of time.
I mean, there's been like a global boycott of work. Like there's like a in what does they call it? An inadvertent like the worker shortage and stuff like that is basically like, yo, we're not into this like paycheck to paycheck bullshit, like or paycheck lifestyle. Like the pandemic really put people in a place where they were like, I don't want to. I think it's been like a mass quitting across all like it's in the zeitgeist for sure, where people are reorganizing their priorities and shit. And yeah, it's a very, very interesting time to be alive.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, man. Like,
Yeah. But even when you were younger, like I don't even necessarily mean ambition in terms of just like career stuff, just in terms of like existential things. Like, was there a direction that you wanted to aim your life in when you were younger? Or were you kind of just like had this like wild energy and you just moved impulsively in like on a gut instinct or something like that?
no, I had a hustle. I had a strong, serious hustle. It's weird. I have a lot of energy and like uh or I have none. I mean, like the if the energy is used for nonsense, it can become destructive very quickly. And then you sprinkle a bunch of alcohol on that, and then you have, my stories through my 20s are like fucking awesome as stories. They are not awesome in terms of making. They're just awesome. I'm not even gonna judge it. I'm like, why am I trying to like put them down? I'm like, I'm not putting that shit down. But it's not it's a bonfire, It's gonna burn out. It has to burn out.
What got you out of that? Like when you said you were sober, do you mean like you were in recovery, or do you mean you're just like I had to stop that shit?
I tried to do AA. I definitely tried to do some AA. I wasn't great at AA, which is weird because I'm very pro AA, but I'm also like not a pro at AA. I also like don't have the same relationship with weed, and I don't have the same relationship with like I didn't abuse all things across the board. Like weed is such a bummer because it just doesn't operate the same way. Like every time I smoke weed, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta clean my room. Oh my God, why am I living like this? It's the kind, and like I understand my partner better, I understand my mom better. Like it's like a very productive, proactive drug. So it's a real bummer. That's why I never smoke it. Because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna smoke weed and then just like be like, oh, I should go home and go to sleep and get up early in the morning. Like, what the fuck? It's like the weirdest drug. I don't understand how anybody does that recreationally.
So you like do a bong hit and do your taxes?
Completely. But then like I can't read them because it's all still pretty psychedelic. But I just think about how I should do with the taxes for the entire time. And then lose my identity completely. And like it's a very strong, intense, stimulating drug. I'm like, I don't understand. Different drugs operate with people in different ways, but
I'm nodding as if I'm not a teetotaler, but I'm like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just never. I just talked about this on another episode, but like the Dare era really got into me, and we're around the same age, so it always is curious. I'm always curious about other people because I was just like, if I take one puff of marijuana, it will I'll have a psychic split and I'll lose myself in my brain for the rest of my life. So I'm just like, let's just.
I got that too. That's how I feel. Wait, so have you ever tried marijuana?
Nah, it just
okay.
never.
The description of it is very accurate.
Oh, really? So I was right?
You're 100% right.
Oh, good. Then I'm glad that I never did it.
I mean, what you just described is exactly my experience with smoking weed. Like I have a psychic split where I'm like, I don't know who I am any longer. But I don't think it affects, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it affects everybody like that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I'm just scared that I'll have the most negative. My brain seems to attach, I've been talking about this in therapy lately, but like my brain seems to attach to if there is a non-negative probability of something happening, even if it's very small, my brain will attach to that and then hold on to it as if it's a otter in the claws of an eagle. I don't know where that came from, but like, do you know what I mean? Like my brain just grips this very small possibility of something happening. Like There's our
When
neighborhood is like full of spiders. Not now that it's a little colder, but there was a point where like during spider season there were brown widows everywhere. So my
yeah.
brain was like, if there are brown widows everywhere, then there's a possibility that one of them could get on your dog and kill it. And so like every time I walked Mabel at night, I was just like in this panic state. So there's a little peek into my noggin.
Well, uh, where I go on vacation, I often see eagles flying off with animals and with fish.
Uh-huh.
And I always say, like, when I see them, I'm always like, oh, that poor fish. And I have this friend, Steve Loman, Lolo, and he always goes, what are you talking about? That fish is having the best time of his life. That fish is like, woof, like right before it dies, it's flying. It is flying through the air on its last moments of life. It's been in the sea its entire life, and then at the last minute, it's gonna fly.
See, but this is the thing. My mortality is just like so close to my face. Like it's like just standing like an inch from my
Why?
face. I just think like a lot of different reasons. Like, just family members dying when I was younger and things like that. That it's just like so omnipresent in my brain. And it seems like you grew up in a way where you just like kind of like threw caution to the wind.
Yeah. It's because I'm never gonna die.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Would've-
Everyone's like walking around this world like, oh, I'm gonna die. The weird thing is that I'm not, so it's like kind of great.
Oh, I would love to feel that. I would love just for a moment to feel what you feel.
I actually recently was like, oh, I'm gonna die. And I quit smoking as a result. But up until that point, I smoked from when I was like 12 to like 35.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And it was always because I was like, I ain't gonna die. It's like a combination of like, I'm not gonna die, but then you could die at any minute.
Mm.
You might as well like last timeness. Everything is last timeness. Tonight is your last night on earth.
Yeah.
Tonight is your last night on earth.
Yeah.
Like
Your-
that's how.
your, your cigarettes are my potato chips. Like I get that.
Yeah. But I was smoking one night and I was like, I might die from these, and I really don't want to die. I think I had enough friends who got cancer and just like were in like I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get it. So okay.
But then what followed after that was I got pregnant. Like the sequence of events were like, oh wait, I don't want to die. Oh wait, let me get like totally non-smoking, like live whatever it is because I actually don't want to die. And then I had a kid. And then once you have a kid, you really can't die. Like, my God, like you can't die for at least 10 years.
So
Like if
wait,
you
was this whole
die,
shift
it's
in the pandemic?
No, before.
Okay.
I got pregnant before the pandemic.
Okay.
Had the baby in the middle of the pandemic.
So then what was it? Was it just an
It was
epiphany?
unexpected.
Like it just struck you that one, like you're smoking and you're like down to the ash or down to the whatever. You could
Down to the ash.
down.
You
to
know
like
what's interesting? I passed off my last cigarette. So my friend came up and said, it was a New Year's Eve party. Cause I was like, I'm going to quit on the New Year's Day. Not because it's like a New Year's resolution, but just because it's really easy to know how long it's been since you quit. Do you know what I'm talking about? If you quit on New Year's Day, then you can always be like, oh, I quit smoking like 2 years ago. Because you always know. It's just like really lazy time management. But wait, what was the question? Oh,
I was just wanting this shift
because what was the shift?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like your like a very brief outline of your life shape, and I'm just wondering like as like wild kid, and then suddenly like you have this like flash of mortality in your head. That's the picture I'm drawing. But is that accurate?
But wild, wild meaning like a lot of energy. So like in college, like I double majored and graduated like top like in with top honors, you know. Like if you can take that same energy, any energy, wild energy, whatever, and like focus it, you know, you can do awesome shit. If there's no place for that energy to go, it can go into crazy places, which is kind of what happened when I lived in New York in my 20s, and it was just like I didn't know how to like you know what, honestly I'm still trying to figure out how to focus in that energy. I'm still trying to figure out how to, and there's been a major energy shift like what you said with like you just want to enjoy your life, like you want to participate in, and a lot of the things. I'm also been in a relationship for 11 years, which is a really interesting thing to do. You know, it's like longevity is a maybe that is what started to shift actually, is that like the game is like actually longevity. And longevity is you know, you want to like keep a wood fire going for 10 years as opposed to have one night of a bonfire. Like the game the it was too easy. And if you have a lot of energy, you need shit to be hard. And having a long, happy, sustaining relationship is super hard. So it's way more interesting. So this concept that you are, people often talk about doing long-term things is like relenting or compromising. And I'm like, yeah, fucking compromise. What a challenge. Like, what a challenge. Compromise and cooperation, like effort over time that sustains and grows. Like, holy shit. Like that shit feels radical. That shit feels like, you know, and I already did all the other stuff. Like, you know, I did all of the like quick burns. And so like now it's like the thrill is the longevity.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what the cigarette was about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Naomi and I are almost at 13 years.
Yeah.
And it's like good work. It's like some of the best work I've done, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. It's really, really interesting. I mean, just to put in effort in any relationship over time is like, wow. I think this is like how people, you know, used to die off a lot earlier. Now we like have a bunch of things that happen that make us live longer. So it's like the game is actually to like, you know, before you'd be like, well, I'm going to treat the people around me this way because I'm probably going to die at war. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably going to die before the age of 30. Like most of human history has been dying at like 32. Now we're like I feel like the zeitgeist, the zeitgeist of the era is longevity. And that is which, you know, I'm like, is that, I don't know how that translates into art, you know, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I think it translates for me into art where I'm like, you know, in National Treasure, I'm like kicking a lot of ass, you know. I feel like anytime I do something, if I just do it, max it out, then it's inherently has a radicalness to it. If I just do it to the full extent of my capabilities, then maybe it'll have a radical flair to it, and I'll satiate my my duality of oppositional defiance disorder and group flow. You know.
Wait, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but sorry, I wanted to go back because I started asking you this and then we went off another direction. Like you beat up a kid in Delaware.
No, in Illinois.
Oh, in Illinois. Wait, and then you fled to Delaware?
Yeah, I had to fly out. I had to call my dad. I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I was like, you remember when you guys asked me if I was having sex? And I said no. He's like, yes. And I was like, well, I have been having sex. And so has, you know, Elizabeth. And I mean, that's not even why we were fighting, actually. Oh my God. The drama. The drama. She was like, oh my God. I'm like, I can't, I'm like, I want to just like say the story, but like, I'm like, am I allowed in yes, I am. I'm allowed to say the story. But yeah, she was sleeping with a lot of people. Everyone was sleeping with a lot of people in my high school experience.
Uh-huh.
I'm like not kidding. It was euphoria. Like people, curled up in the bath, like underneath the thing, because they, like that is my high school experience. So like she was like being bullied in school by some of my other friends. Like all of us grew up together and were elementary school friends. And then high school happened, and she was like dealing cocaine with these other people's boyfriends in the school. And like, it was like I mean, the layers go down, 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 down. And I was at this party and I was trying to mediate between her and these other girls. Right. I was trying to be like this mediator. And I knew that she had, like, my other friend and I had like gone into her house and read her diary. Like there's so many violations on all course. And she, in her diary, she said she was going to ruin our lives. And it was like very intense. And she did. She definitely like major mediation had to occur across all boards. One of the girls had a kid. It was like and like the boy who is involved's father ended up being the mediator between all these things of getting like the what's it called, the like legal parts of it like cleared up. But I mean, it was wild. It was wild. And then I was like, the drama went on and on, but there was a fight inside of a party. Everyone had been drinking, and I went outside, and she was in front of me, and we were getting pushed down these stairs. And then we tumbled down the stairs, and I thought that she had pulled me down the stairs, and I got up and was just like in pure like red. And a fight ensued, and then it just like escalated to like lots of people, and it was bad. It was bad. And so I there was like a warrant out for my arrest, and I had to like flee the state. Um anyway, my parents were not expecting that to happen when I went back home to visit my friends. And so there was a huge break of trust, and it was very serious and very hard to cope with.
Uh-huh.
Um, but anyway, that girl, I was like, oh, as long as I never see that girl again, oh my God. She ends up dating a friend of mine, a friend of a friend of mine in New York City. And when we're like in our 20s, and the boy in question ended up developing schizophrenia. And he came to my apartment, and he and I ended up having not like romantic relationship, but a relationship that lasted years and years. And so when he had his schizophrenic sort of meltdown in his mid-20s, he like came over to my apartment, and like it was a problem, and I had somebody staying with me. And so my first conversation with this girl was I called her. I said, hey, Liz, Ben's here and he's not well. Can you take him in your apartment? And that was like our first conversation after like this 15-year-old or 16-year-old like fight that we had. And then I think I had an impulse to repair more. I got her a job as a street performing wolf. And so the first time I saw her was on a rooftop in New York City, where I was teaching her how to be a wolf. And so we met and we hugged, and I started teaching her how to be a wolf.
This is almost like a Harold, like this discussion where like everything is coming together at the end.
I mean, it keeps going and going and going. It's like keeps going and going and going.
Wait, hold on. Last thing, because I don't know if this is a false fact you've seen into your Wikipedia or not, but it said you were at UCB in 2010.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, so we were there around the same time.
Really?
Yeah, I was just starting at UCB in 2010.
Me too. I stopped it pretty quick though.
Yeah.
I was like, I've done a bunch of I've been the monologuist at a bunch of the
ASCAT.
Improv. ASCAT, yeah. As you can imagine. uh, yeah. You're like, I don't even know how these stories would translate to like, how do you even like get these stories to get into improv? Because there's fucking kooky. Yeah, I definitely have a collection of kooky stories. Which is why I feel
we could do a scene off of this.
We could do a scene off of this. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're, the art, I guess the wolf magic ended up healing that relationship. I think she's a fromagier now. She is.
Of
I mean,
course
I know
she is. Of course
Yeah.
she is.
Fine French cheeses are like, she's always like, I always imagine her sipping wine and being in like a cave in France, like trying stinky cheese.
By the way, the cheese board at Luppiette Kitchen, mwah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's very good.
Woo! I kind of feel like going there right now.
You get 4 different cheeses.
Oh my God.
You get a little salad. You get some jam. You get some walnuts. You get bread.
Wow.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, I went there the first week it opened and I wasn't impressed. And then I went back there like 2 weeks ago and I was very impressed. You can't go to a restaurant the first week it opens. It's bad.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Or like could be bad. Could be bad.
I shook my head. I'm
New
like, no,
restaurant,
you can't.
I feel like restaurants need like 3 months to shake it out, like work it out.
Yeah, it's like a TV show, right? You need the first couple episodes to kind of like figure things out, and then by episode 4, you're like humming.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was an absolutely delightful way to spend an hour.
Yeah, I kept on. I wasn't sure when we had started. I'm like, who even knows? I hope this helps artists out there with their endeavors.
I think so. I think every conversation I have helps me at the very least. And isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that the narcissism of this? As long as it helps me, everything's good.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to believe things will help you. That's the primary belief system there. That I can never be a narcissist because I never think anything's going to help me.
Awesome. See ya. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye.